What is good, my ghouls and goblins? Or maybe I should say, what's happening, movie realists? I don't know if we call you guys that who watch this channel, but guess what? You're getting an unusual suspect for today's real review in the form of me. And why would that be? That is, of course, because I'll be reviewing the very new reboot of Hellraiser. And I am, of course, your friendly neighborhood horror head. Who better to do the honors than me? And I am very honored to talk about a movie that's been long awaited, long in production, and very excited to finally see that it's here. Hellraiser fans have been starving for decades, not just for anything, but for something good that we could really sink our teeth into. Now, I will preface this by saying I'm not as well read on the Hellraiser franchise as I am maybe other horror series. I've not seen every movie in the franchise, and hey, some people would probably say I'm not missing much. Maybe it's for the best, but I was still very excited to finally check out something new, something authorized by the master, Clive Barker himself, in the form of this new movie from director David Bruckner. You might know from VHS. He directed the great Succubus short from the original film and also put out a movie a couple years ago called The Night House, a nice original little idea, which I enjoyed quite a bit. Thought he would be a good pick for this myself as well. So Hellraiser, what did we think of it? This is on Hulu right now. Did not get the classic traditional theatrical release. And even though I'm very much an advocate for the theatrical experience, I can't really argue against it. I would say this is fine on the small screen. I enjoyed the movie. Was it everything I hoped it would be in a world where horror franchise reboots and reimaginings and adaptations seem to be happening every single year, and I think the bar is fairly high in that regard. Do I think this met it? I think it met it, but I don't really know that it exceeded it. It's got, first of all, the Cenobites look amazing. Okay, that's going to be the first thing that you wonder whenever you come into a new Hellraiser movie. And obviously, the classic Doug Bradley does not play Pinhead in this one anymore, which is nothing new for us Hellraiser fans, right? We're very used to Doug Bradley not playing the character anymore, but instead, they went with actually what's considerably a more traditional take with Clive Barker's original story and cast an actress, Jamie Clayton, instead as Pinhead, and she does great. I love this take on the character. She really embodied the foreboding, the calm, the plotting, and the almost force of nature that a Cenobite like Pinhead really is. She did terrific, and the Cenobites looked great. I was actually concerned going through the movie because for a while you don't get a lot of them, and I was really afraid that by the end of it I was going to be left wanting more, not in the best way. Luckily, that's not actually a problem. Now, the movie does take its time. I would say I felt the runtime on this, which is, I love horror, and a movie is if a movie is long enough and it earns that runtime by being entertaining from start to finish, I've got no problem with that. I'll sit down and watch a long movie. Now, it's 2 hours. You would say maybe that's not that long, but for a horror movie, that can be a lot unless you've got a lot of meat on the bone. I was feeling the runtime on this a little bit. I felt like there was maybe a version of this you could have trimmed down to a clean 90, an hour 40, hour 45. It took its time more than I would have expected. And I think probably part of the problem is that characters, I didn't connect much with them. Now, that's not uncommon in horror. That doesn't mean it has to be the rule. You can certainly have exceptions to the rule. But characters are a little thin in this, and that's not uncommon in these franchise horror series, which are more led by the antagonists than they are the protagonists. And Hellraiser is not something that really has that recurring hero that you'd expect to see in the movie. People don't do very well in Hellraiser movies. They don't often get to come back and do the sequel. But that even being said, I didn't connect too much with the characters in this movie, aside from the main character played by Odessa Azion. Hope I'm saying that correctly. I think she did great, and I think a compelling enough character at the heart of it, the hellbound heart of it, if you will. But I think maybe that's why I was feeling some of that runtime, and it takes a while to really get going. Now, something people may wonder, it's got that classic legacy sequel reboot title. It's called Hellraiser, not Hellraiser : subtitle or Hellraiser I think this would be the 11th film, 12th film in the series, technically. It's just called Hellraiser. Do you need to have seen the other movies in the series? Is it a literal sequel? No, you don't need to have seen the other movies. It is effectively a reboot, but at the same time, while it's not in continuity with anything, I think the movie is expecting for you to still have some familiarity with this world. Because it doesn't slow down to explain what Cenobites are. It doesn't really slow down to explain how the puzzle box works, and how sacrifices are marked, and the lore and mythology behind this world. I felt like if you were a completely new audience member, and if you haven't seen the original Hellraiser, I implore you to do so. But if you hadn't seen at least some of the original movies, you might feel a little overwhelmed by everything the movie's throwing at you. Even having a longer runtime, it doesn't stop to exposit what exactly is going on. And once it does finally get going, I'd say the back half of the movie much better than the front half. Once it really hits the ground running and you're getting that Cenobite intensity and you're really getting the gore and the violence, that's probably what you're really wondering, right? How violent is this? Hellraiser is an exceptionally violent franchise. People's skin is getting yanked off. People are walking around in other people's skins. There's chains, there's knives, there's BDSM. Not a lot of leather daddy stuff in this, but there is a lot of violence, a lot of gore, creative kills. I thought it definitely got the job done in that aspect. And if you have a weak stomach, probably ain't your movie, but none of the other ones are either. Story, I thought, was a little all over the place, a little too complicated for its own good, and it feels like it has, even being 2 hours long, it has a lot to unpack in the last 30-20 minutes of the movie. So it got a little disorienting for even me, who has seen a few of the Hellraiser movies before. But does it do what you showed up to see? Does it have the right kills? Is it gross? Is it violent? Are the Cenobites cool? Yes. You get some of the classic ones. You get some new ones. You get some Chatterer action. I'm a Chatterer guy. I love the Chatterer, and you get plenty of them in this. The designs are decisively new and original, and not what you've seen in previous movies. But I think they look fantastic. And even if it takes a while to get to the conclusion, I thought the conclusion was pretty solid. No spoilers, obviously, but it was worth the wait, I would say. So where would I put this? I'm not going to try to rank it amongst the franchise at large, because like I said, I haven't seen all the Hellraiser movies, and even though this is a very sadomasochistic series, I'm not that sadomasochistic. I'm not going back and watching the entire Hellraiser series. So I'm not going to try to tell you where it fits in, but I'll tell you how I feel about this one on its own. I'm going to put this at, how do we do this? 3 out of 5 reels. 3 out of 5, which maybe seems a little low for a big new horror franchise, especially coming from me. But I think this is a 3 out of 5 movie, and I don't think it needs to be more than that. If you are in the mood for something scary, if you've been hankering for a new Hellraiser movie, this is still going to get the job done. And it's so easy and accessible. It's right there on the small screen streaming on Hulu, where I think it's probably best at home. I think if this got a traditional theatrical release, I would have seen it, but I don't know. I don't know who else might have. I think Hellraiser's still a little more niche than your Michael Myers or your big franchise horror stuff. So I enjoyed it. If you think you're going to enjoy it, you probably will. And if this isn't your cup of tea, then stay away. Or maybe give it a shot. Maybe you'll find out you like this leather daddy BDSM gore stuff. I don't know. But I enjoyed it. I do recommend it. 3 out of 5 ain't a bad score coming from me. Some movies don't need to be more than that. It's fun, it's gross, and I would say it sets up more. So I enjoyed it enough to see another one. Maybe you will as well. Let me know. Sign off in the comments. Did you like it? Was it a letdown? Were you looking forward to a Hellraiser movie? Would you watch more, either from David Bruckner and his continuity, from this team? It seems like there's always 3 or 4 Hellraiser things in development at all times. So maybe we'll be at a more solid, more dependable bedrock now for the Hellraiser franchise. This is not a bad kicking off point for that. Let me know what you thought about it. Let me know if a 3 out of 5 was a good score, if you put it higher, if you put it lower. And if you enjoyed the review, you want to see more like this one, be sure to subscribe to this channel, WattReel Entertainment. Follow us on twitch.tv/WattReelEnt, where I'll be streaming scary games all month, and also be sure to tune in October 16th to this channel for the return of mine and Connor Breedlove's horror podcast, Really Scared. We'll be going live that evening to discuss Halloween Ends, the finale, as it were, of the Halloween series. That being said, my name is Taylor. Good night, ghouls and goblins, and a very scary happy Halloween to you. Thank you for watching.